Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guest today is Keith Johnson, Chief Technology Officer and Chief Engineer, Defense and Intelligence Group at Leidos. Here we are in 2018, and the cloud is actually kind of a mature industry, Much of the hype of the ROI and moving to the cloud has subsided, and people are taking a careful look at what this transition to the cloud costs. It really does. Large, well-known vendors make it easy, I'm not going to name names here, make it easy to jump to the cloud. All you need is a credit card, you're off to the races, What's happening is there are federal agencies that are getting sticker shock the first month of this transition. So we got to talk about the money. The phrase, show me the money. Let's talk about the money. So how can a federal agency evaluate the ROI of moving to the cloud?
Well, I think it begins, John, with understanding the motivations for moving to the cloud. Is the move to the cloud really about needing to scale? Is it about needing to modernize, or potentially is it to change the paradigm for how they operate? The cloud, what it does for agencies and organizations is it really flips your paradigm from a CapEx-centric model to an OpEx-centric model. And I don't think that is fully understood in the ROI calculations. In the cloud, you're paying for every service and sometimes by the minute, instead of just paying a yearly amount for infrastructure and this kind of letting it run. The key to evaluating the move to the cloud and really your ROI metrics needs to start with how you are measuring the services and the ultimate value that you're providing. So if you're not ready to really talk about OpEx as a central thematic in how you're delivering IT services to users and customers, it's going to be very difficult to get a good handle on what ROI really means.
So you can't go to your bookshelf and dust off the old metrics you used before. Whole different set of metrics for cloud services.
Exactly. The key really is, do you know how much it costs to deliver a certain service? It's a very difficult metric to gain that one number. It's easy to talk about how much I buy for storage, how much I buy for compute infrastructure, how much I pay software developers, how much I pay network engineers and system admins. But to really boil that up into a number for a specific service is very difficult. And then to translate that into what a cloud service provider could provide in that kind of a number is a difficult transition to make. It's very important to think in that context in order to get a true ROI value.
And we all have numbers here, but you can't put a number on something like convenience or something like ability to expand at some indeterminate time in the future. So what do you value that? 0 to 10? I mean, how do you do that?
So I tend to value those very, very highly. Because ultimately convenience, efficiencies are what drive new services. And where we are in the IT industry, as we're maturing as an industry, it's not about infrastructure. It's about service delivery and meeting an evolving end customer need. And so quantifying what it means to create a new service within days instead of weeks, months, or years is what the challenge is, and that's really where the ROI comes from. So, new service delivery through efficiencies, and also scaling that service to meet the customer demand is extremely important. Something the cloud offers fairly natively if you do it correctly.
So if we just look at ROI, sometimes we forget the big picture. And in this world, it's cybersecurity, isn't it?
Yes.
So what about cybersecurity? And it's a factor, isn't it?
It's a big factor. Cybersecurity requires individuals who are data owners or who are system owners to think about where the boundaries are drawn. It's kind of easy if we're deploying on an internal network or infrastructure because I kind of own those boundaries. At the fence level almost. In the cloud, they're a little bit more opaque. The cloud is secure if done correctly. The problem is the cloud service offerings allow individuals, like you said, with a credit card, to go in there and to start procuring services and deliver those services without really thinking about security. And so there's a risk just because it allows people to do really stupid things. If you do it smartly, the cloud can be secure, but that requires a governance process and a methodology that starts really by thinking about cyber at the very beginning and how you're going to roll that out.
In one of those Back to the Future movies, they're on that train and they hit the point of no return. Remember that? It was the point of no return.
Yes.
And so what happens if an agency commits to the cloud and they decide that it may not be worthwhile to pull back? Is there a point of no return, or can people pull back? We see commercial organizations kind of changing, and they're just saying, well, maybe it's not what it was meant up to be.
Yeah, so I think there are there's certainly there are a lot of options when it comes to committing and pulling back from the cloud. Really, what it comes, some of the things that it boils down to is a balance between leveraging cloud native services and being cloud neutral. So if you are cloud neutral, and this is we have a methodology at Leidos where we follow to enable our customers to really kind of feel where are they on this scale between full scale cloud adoption and ability to pull back. So one of the things that we advocate is understanding what is your motivating or driving factor. Before even committing to the cloud, we advocate a kind of what we call a dual ops mindset. If you have current services that are being delivered via traditional means, and then you go to the cloud, before you commit fully to the cloud, we want to make sure that the services, the costs, and the end efficiencies are really being realized, so that we don't want to get in a position where we make an oops and say we go too far and then have to pull back. We want to be careful. But if we do have to pull back, we have methodologies that allow us to pull out of the cloud and back into maybe a fully on-premise or hybrid environment very quickly.
So make an assessment first before you make a commitment.
Definitely make an assessment first, and you make sure you have the right metrics.
Well, great. We're going to pause here for a short break. My guest today is Keith Johnson, Chief Technology Officer and Chief Engineer, Defense and Intelligence Group, Leidos. I'm your moderator, John Gilroy, on the discussion, Putting the Cloud to Work in Government, sponsored by Leidos on Federal News Radio 1500 AM and federalnewsradio.com.